Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
You see, not only did the government not inform Chad Williamson of the proceedings against his client on May 6th, but the government didn't inform the court that Chris Scott was represented by Williamson. Williamson argues that this is a fundamental breach of the principles of justice, and this denied Chris Scott access to his legal counsel, which is his charter right. Sheila Gunn Reid for Rebel News, and this afternoon I was in court, but for the contempt hearing of Chris Scott of the Whistle Stop Cafe. For those of you who don't know, Chris Scott is the small town Alberta diner owner who back in January opened his restaurant in defiance of the lockdown restrictions on dine-in service. Chris flung his doors open and Albertans embraced his act of bravery and came from all around to support him. But the RCMP and Alberta Health Services put him under surveillance and harassment almost instantly. Chris Scott received numerous fines, numerous summonses, and at least 2 court orders were sought against him. And through it all, Rebel News viewers were supporting him through their very generous donations to our civil liberties project, fightthefines.com, where we help normal people fight their lockdown infractions in court at no cost to them by putting them in touch with top civil liberties lawyers. And that is exactly what we did for Chris Scott. All along this whole ordeal, Chad Williamson from Williamson Law has been fighting for Chris Scott in court. Now, on May 6th, completely in secret, the Alberta government went before a judge in Calgary and received a restraining order against Chris Scott, preventing him from promoting, organizing, or attending an illegal public gathering. And at the time, the restrictions in Alberta outlawed outdoor gatherings of any more than 5 people. I know, it's crazy. And just before that May 6th secret court order, the government and the RCMP came and chained up Chris's restaurant, confiscating the restaurant, the gas station, the convenience store, and the campsite that Chris owned and operated, basically cutting off Mirror, Alberta from the closest convenience store within 20 kilometers. Now on May 8th, Chris held a 1,500-person protest against the lockdown. So the government had him arrested on the evening of May 8th, and Chris Scott spent 3 days in jail for contempt of court. Today was Chris's day in court to fight that contempt charge. A lawyer for Alberta Health Services made the case for why the government thinks Chris Scott is guilty of contempt, using body cam footage from RCMP officers of the crowd size and the speeches at the protest, as well as screenshots of Facebook posts allegedly promoting the event Chris held. However, Chris Scott's lawyer, Chad Williamson from Williamson Law, paid for through Fight the Fines, said the judge is at his discretion to throw out the contempt proceedings, given that the May 6th order the government is trying to hold Chris in contempt of was obtained improperly and completely in secret. You see, not only did the government not inform Chad Williamson of the proceedings against his client on May 6th, but the government didn't inform the court that Chris Scott was represented by Williamson. Williamson argues that this is a fundamental breach of the principles of justice, and this denied Chris Scott access to his legal counsel, which is his charter right. Now, that argument caught the AHS lawyer completely flat-footed. Williamson told the judge that the AHS lawyer in court today was the same one that he has been dealing with since back in February and was the same one involved in seeking the May 6th order. So she knew how to get a hold of Chris Scott and Chad Williamson, but she did neither. Williamson produced emails showing that the first time he heard about the May 6th order was 6:21 in the evening on May 6th, well after the order was granted in secret without his participation. Friends, it should not be illegal to refuse to go bankrupt in this province, and it should absolutely not be illegal to hold a protest of the government decisions that led to the confiscation of your property, stripped you of your civil liberties, closed your business, and harmed your community by extension. And the government should not be withholding vital information from courts and the lawyers of the very people they seek to obtain orders against that restrain all of our civil liberties. That, my friends, would make for an unfettered and unrestrained state where rights don't mean a darn thing. Justice Adam Germain is hearing the case, and he's reserving his decision until June 28th. I should note Justice Germain is hearing all of the Alberta Health Services orders, including Pastor Art Pawlowski's contempt case. If you'd like to help us help Chris Scott fight the full force of the unethical and sneaky Alberta Health Services, please donate today at fightthefines.com. Friends, if they can persecute Chris Scott, who has a lawyer representing him, imagine what they could do to the rest of us. It's time to put these sneaky government goons back in their place. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. If you'd like to help us help Chris Scott and the roughly 1,200 other people, business owners, and pastors fight their lockdown tickets in court at no cost to them, please donate today at fightthefines.com. And good news, all donations there now qualify for a charitable tax receipt through